welcome to another episode, and we are ranking production methods from the least expensive to the most expensive. And now we're in the big leagues. We are talking about large-scale manufacturing. This is basically what China is known for, what India is known for, and some factories in Kenya are also known for this, and of course many other countries. I'm sure in the Americas, South America are the ones who also do this large scale. So of course this needs a lot of money, it needs a lot of sales. A lot of people who do this manufacturing don't necessarily manufacture for themselves, they manufacture for others. So a lot of the international brands, especially the fast fashion brands, like H&M and Shein and all those. I think Shein actually have their own factories, but I think H&M outsource. Some of them outsource to countries like China, India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, or if you're like Shein, I think it's a Chinese company that manufactures in China, but I think they have their offices in the West. At least that's what I think. Yes, so most of the time it's wiser to be a producer by the time business reaches here, because there is also a lot at stake when you are producing at this scale. You need to be able to deliver, and the turnaround times can be very, very high. It is very capital intensive. The turnaround times are very short. You have to produce quickly, especially if you're doing the fast fashion. I personally am not a fan of fast fashion. I feel like it's not good for the environment. I also think it produces a lot of waste, and it has also cheapened how people view clothes. I can just give you an example of how people perceive the price of second-hand clothes going up. I know, at least in Kenya, second-hand clothes that we call mtumba is popular with majority people. That's what they can afford. Of course, there are also some people who use them for upcycling and things like that. But for me, I have always felt, I think it's also how I was brought up, because second-hand clothes became a thing more when I was a teenager. When I was younger, there was affordable, ready-to-wear clothes, and most of the or very expensive ones, and we were just used to receiving new clothes maybe once a year. And because we have a school uniform culture in Kenya, most of the time you're in school uniform anyway. You wear your home clothes on the weekend, and then in December, Christmas holidays, when you get new clothes. So there was a scarcity in terms of how often you got new clothes. So I came to value it in that way, that when you're buying clothes, you take your time and you get a good piece that is timeless, and you'll be able to wear it in different ways and style it in different ways. That is how I was brought up. So this idea of people just buying clothes because they have money and they're passing somewhere and they want to buy something for a very, very affordable price, like 50 shillings, for me, I think I really question how much it costs before it was even discarded, and how much people are paid and all that. Those things really weigh on me. And it's also because I'm in the industry. I really value being able to pay people money that they can live off of, and not just take advantage because labor is cheaper on the continent. So I am just talking about the large-scale production in that way, but I think it's also important that we acknowledge the effects of producing at a large scale. I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily, but I think how often we are producing and how much people are being paid is actually the bigger issue, because of course the population of the world has been growing and we need the clothes, but I think how they produce is important. So you need millions. I gave it a very a ballpark, at least in Kenya, of 20 million to 100 million to start. And of course your cost per unit lowers because you're buying everything in bulk, fabric in bulk, you're producing in bulk and everything like that. Yes, for Kenyan market, these clothes that are fast fashion definitely compete with second-hand clothes. And also you have to have a very big export business for this to work for you if you choose to do it. So now we're going to talk about the next one. I'm sure you're wondering what it is, but that's a surprise for the next episode. See you in the next episode.